Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special recording of That Early Childhood Nerd. Happy Halloween from some of the Nerd Collective. You know me, I'm Heather Brent-Santy. You see Lizz Nolasco.
Hello.
And Richard Cohen, kind of.
I'm Granny.
And Mike Huber.
Hello.
Yeah, I almost called you Michael again. I guess that's the thing I'm going to do now. There's been like 2 podcasts where I've said, called you Michael. So we're going to talk about Halloween in early childcare, early childhood programs, settings, and it probably will branch into other holidays too. This isn't a typical podcast. It's just going to be this video release. So we also don't have a quote because I didn't have time to find a quote. But and I wasn't sure which direction the conversation was going to go. So I thought rather than that, we'll just do this special episode and sort of turn everybody loose on Halloween and see where we go. So that being said, oh yeah, we didn't introduce the baby. Lizz's baby is here.
This is our radio. He's an avocado.
And Bethany's going to join us in a minute. I just heard. So Bethany will be on. So I just, mostly I knew, as some of you might have noticed, that there aren't any new podcasts that have come out for a couple of weeks. We've had some team sickness that is delaying things. So I just wanted to get something new out there for folks in the meantime till we get ourselves back on track. So I don't know, do you guys want to talk about your costumes or you want to just go ahead? We better explain some costumes.
Well, mine, I decided, well, I thought I had other costumes around. I had, if you know, young Bart Collins from the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. So just talking to the gay audience here.
I don't know.
Anyways, I had dressed up as Dr. Twilker and my partner dressed up as young Bart Collins, the boy. It's this hat with a hand on it. It's a movie scripted by Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
And all I could find was the Dr. Twilker robe. And on Zoom, the robe doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I couldn't find either of the hats from that costume. So I did find a Santa hat. And then I also found my flag shirt and thought War on Christmas. So
I was going to say, show us.
This was thrown together 15 minutes ago. But
nice.
Yeah, so the flag.
Yeah.
I think the question for the group is, would Mike's costume damage young children if he wore it in an early childhood program?
Yeah, we're not talking about Halloween yet. We're talking about our costumes.
Okay, well, that's my question.
Okay.
Did you wear a Santa hat on Halloween, or will that mess children up forever?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. But Richard, talk about your costume.
Oh, well, this was my favorite. There's Bethany. We don't know what her costume is. We just know she's been drinking.
All right, Bethany Corrie's joined the show.
I'm late. That's my costume.
Yeah.
Late millennial. That's what you're dressed up as?
No millennial bashing on this program.
Aw.
Too late.
No, my cigarette's falling out. Okay, Richard, your costume is?
Yes, ma'am. So
Granny.
I'm Granny. Oh, I can't do the backwards thing. I'm Granny, as you can clearly tell. I'm Little Red Riding Hood's Granny, and that's really all you need to know. This was my favorite costume to wear as a preschool teacher. This thing is older than probably Bethany and Liz. This costume, I dug it out of a box in the basement. But we would read the true story of the Big Bad Wolf, and I would do this voice when I was the Big Bad Wolf, and then I would show up on Halloween like this, and you're the wolf, you're the wolf. No, I'm Granny, kid. Can't you see? Can't you read? I'm Granny. And
so it's literacy
they would have
too.
a lot of fun with that. Yeah, I would never admit to being BBW in front of the children. I was just Granny. And we had a lot of fun with that. One time I was Uncle Fester from the Addams Family.
Sure.
And I made children cry all morning, so I had to take it off.
Yeah.
It was a bald skin cap and a light bulb that lit up when you put it in your mouth, and a dark gray gown, and big black circles under my eyes.
It was one of my options when I realized my costume wasn't going to be here in time.
Yes, it would look good on you.
I looked at some bald options.
Yes, I definitely have been Uncle Fester. And actually, when my nephew played Uncle Fester in the Addams Family musical, the first comment from everyone else was, he looks like Uncle Mike.
So nobody cried?
Nobody cried, but that was just with,
Well, then you did it
Family.
wrong.
yeah, okay, fair.
Damn it. Sure. Liz.
I am an avocado, and he is an avocado. Martin got these while I was pregnant, and he is a piece of toast. He's not here right now.
A piece of toast.
Aw.
Nice.
Better to
I
eat.
see it. Yes.
So
Avocado toast ruining things for everybody.
I will say the pit on this looked better when I was pregnant.
Nice.
I guess.
Bethany, your costume is a late person.
Yeah, and a really tired late person.
Tired late person. Yeah. Cool.
That's not a costume, that's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had ordered a costume to be Olivia Newton-John from the Let's Get Physical video,
Yes.
but it's not here. So I had to improvise, and I have this turban from a very nice care package from somebody. And I have this fake cigarette holder just because I have it. And so I am a mysterious backstory is what my costume is.
Ooh, a mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. So people can
I've
find
always
me
thought of you as a mystery wrapped in a conundrum surrounded by an enigma.
wrapped in a
perfect for you.
Twinkie. That's a Seinfeld reference that I added on to your historical reference. Anyone didn't get that.
I think you get more
When
game
your costume
points. for that
arrives,
one.
put it on and take a pic and add it to this post. We want to see you as Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah, when it gets here, I'll do that.
All right. I want to see the
Um,
leggings. I want to see the headband.
Yeah. And one of my wigs is just like Olivia's early 80s hair. So
Awesome.
works out great. And as many people who know me know, it has always been my goal to grow up and be Olivia Newton-John. So so people can Google to see who she is. And then we'll get some pics up when it's here. Okay, so we want to talk about Halloween.
Uh-huh.
And Richard, you had a question to start with. What was your,
Oh,
let's
well,
go back
that's
to your
your question.
Oh, okay.
No, but so Mike's wearing a Santa cap, and I guess, so I think everything in early childhood that we do, we need to be intentional in our choices, right?
Yeah.
And so, I was just making a joke of like, if you were to wear a Santa cap on Halloween as the teacher in a preschool classroom, what would that do to poor young children's brains and minds? They'd be thinking they'd be getting presents and none would come.
Or I would posit that Halloween is a better time to wear a Santa Claus hat to an early childhood program than Christmas time.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, say why.
Because you're dressing up as a character. You're not
Right.
celebrating mainstream culture's big holiday.
Right.
That might not be a fit for everyone in your program. And certainly we wouldn't want to send a message that Christmas is the normal holiday
Good
and
point.
anything else is exotic and odd. So going as Santa Claus for Halloween, I think, would be a
Yes.
better choice than having him around at Christmas time.
Although Santa is a deeply sacred religious figure. And, I think you'd want to be careful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason for the season. Well, and that also brings up, Halloween. Is Halloween the norm? Does everyone celebrate Halloween?
Mhm.
Right? It's the same question.
So what are some ways that you all, I assume all five of us have been or are working directly with young children. So how have each of you handled Halloween?
Right now in my family childhood program, we just do holidays if the children bring them up. So this year, I have drawn my chalk spooky ghosts on the sidewalk leading up to my front door. But one little boy told me that it is not Halloween at all. Like it's not happening. And so there's been no talk of it. In previous years, like the kids have wanted to bring their costumes and we do like just a little snack time that we say is a party for Halloween in costumes,
Yeah.
which is not that abnormal for any day of the week, but I just don't feel a
Definitely.
big deal.
I've
Mhm.
definitely done the full on, we all wear costumes, kids wear costumes, we do the Halloween crafts, we have the Halloween snacks.
Yep.
I told off before we started recording, I told the story of when I wore my ex-husband's Domino's delivery clothes for Halloween as my costume, and the kids all thought pizza was coming all day, and it was just a disappointment all day long.
Awesome.
It was so sad because their faces lit up. They know
Aw.
what a Domino's delivery guy is.
Hmm. If they're that familiar with Domino's pizza, what does that say?
Yeah, yes, that's a different, I guess, a different topic.
Yeah.
But now, honestly, I mean, I'm not doing direct care now, but last year I was still, and we just didn't do Halloween. And I've worked in centers where they did a pajama party instead of Halloween.
Yep.
To still say they were going to do it. But I remember the first year in the preschool that I was at most recently when we didn't do Halloween, and one of the mothers who clearly didn't like me anyway, emailed and was like, well, I hope that you're willing to deal with her son's mood when his siblings leave with costumes on and he doesn't get to wear one. And I said, oh, he's welcome to wear a costume any day he wants to. But we're just not doing, anything formal Halloweeny. And then he showed up in no costume and in a fine mood. So,
Did you get any response from that mom?
I've sort of run what?
Did you get any response from that mom about what you said?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, because I also took Christmas away and all kinds of things that I got lots of emails with Fox News talking points. Yes, I was the Grinch.
I've done it. I've been there.
Yeah, but
and I'm a Jew, so it's worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's my role now where I work. But when I started, the first place I worked, it was mostly first generation immigrant families from West Africa. So, it wasn't a thing that the parents were demanding. And there were some people who, had lived in America longer and did celebrate Halloween and their kids showed up in costumes, but it wasn't like our classroom celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked at a place like a parent cooperative that was in a neighborhood where they had a neighborhood Halloween parade. And we would go watch the parade because, it was a community event.
Yeah.
But it wasn't right. So, there's definitely nuance in that, right? There was something going on in the neighborhood and actually went right by our center. And it's like a fire truck leading it and a bunch of older kids in costumes and any younger kids crying in their parents' arms because why are you dragging me through the streets in this uncomfortable outfit? But so we were, so that was part of our, like, sort of, it happened every year because it was the neighborhood thing. And then I started working at a new place and they asked me, oh, we really want them to stop, the teachers to stop doing these Halloween things, but can you help them, figure out what do we say to parents? What do we, especially because parents, they had done it. So it was a change for parents, it was a change for teachers, and teachers were so confused, but what do we do on that day if we're not doing, making tissue paper ghosts and giving all the kids candy, because apparently there's a lack of candy for children on that day. But it was interesting how much the teachers felt that they were like depriving the kids of something also. And then the parents, anyways.
Yeah.
So I became the Grinch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The
For
Halloween
that
Grinch.
one. And I think there's a few people. So this is the fourth Halloween where a few weeks ago, I sent the email. Here's what you send to parents. This is how you word it. This is why, give a little explanation from the teacher. Here's the email that's sent to parents, all of that. Because the first year I gave them a template email and they basically said, this is what Mike told us to send you.
Right.
They actually wrote that. And I'm like, well, that's going to be helpful.
So if you have a problem with this, talk to Mike.
And we'll still figure out how to get around this.
Yes.
Maybe he'll be sick that day. I don't know. So I've kind of done, I have never celebrated the holiday in my classroom, but there's definitely, like I said, that nuance of that neighborhood parade.
So Mike, for teachers who are new to the field and watching this video, and they're listening to us saying, I love Halloween. What is the problem? I don't understand what these people are talking about. what was the why in your letter? So why shouldn't we
Yeah.
be doing Halloween?
Well, I think the main idea, I mean, I'm not going to be as nuanced right now, but the basic idea is that if at the center, in my classroom or in the classrooms at our center, we are welcoming people regardless of their background. When kids come and play Halloween or talk about what they're dressing up as, we engage with them in that. And we usually, I recommend teachers have a bunch of bags in your pretend area, because kids are going to want to play trick or treat. Have the counting bears or some other little toy that they'll pretend is candy. That type of play is probably going to happen. But what you're not doing is telling them, I'm going to teach you about Halloween, or we're going to celebrate Halloween. So the classroom doesn't celebrate the holiday. The people in it, some of them might, but some of them might not. And so you're respecting, everyone's view. And I think it's important, even when, like right now we're at work, probably, 98% of the families do celebrate it with trick or treating, almost exactly the same way as everyone else. But I also want them to know that just because we do it here and everyone you see in this suburb does this, it's, there's a bigger world out there where this isn't the norm. And it's always good to keep in mind, appreciate what you do in your culture, but also know not everyone does it. And it's not because they're worse than you or beneath you. So
yeah,
I don't word it that way, but that's essentially it, that we're welcoming everyone. That we welcome people who celebrate that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I started talking when you clearly were still talking, so I'm sorry. But yeah, I want to talk about some of those specific reasons why I don't do it anymore. But Liz, have you been trying to get in to say something?
A little bit, but also ultimately,
I know.
maybe singing himself to sleep. So I was just kind of jumping off of Bethany's program's current lack of interest has sparked something, because I was actually thinking when you first proposed the Halloween episode, the last 2 years since COVID has hit, oh my gosh, finding and addressing scary things and being bigger than the scary things has been such a theme. Halloween has been huge with like the 3 to 5s. The 2s don't really care so much, but those 3 to 5s who need to find the scary thing and be brave and defeat the scary thing has just been such a massive piece of play. I mean, Halloween has gone from September through December last year, and it's kind of on track to do the same thing this year, just because it's so personally relevant.
Right.
But it's not the teachers bringing it in, it's the kids who want the spooky stuff, who see the decorations outside and need to make decorations inside and need to make spooky things.
Yeah.
So it's the underlying theme is fear. Right. Learning that it's okay, that we are afraid of things and that it's okay to be afraid, and that being brave means being afraid but doing it anyway. Is that like the big idea?
Absolutely.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
There would be teachers out there who would be confused, right? Who would say, no, I've got to get through 6 different letters before October 31st and 2 different colors.
Yeah.
I can't do Halloween until Halloween. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So although I totally get what you're saying, Liz, there's a lot of people out there who would think that was radical.
Right.
And when you first posed the question, Richard, you asked Mike to talk about for brand new teachers out there. And it's not just for brand new teachers out there. Like, there are a lot of teachers that this is sort of their personal culture, and the culture of childcare in general is to plan our themes around holidays, and holidays are the mainstream white American holidays, with maybe a couple of books thrown in or silly crafts for other holidays, and it's really personal for some of them. So when we suggest, maybe you don't need to have a classroom holiday party and a costume day, they have a lot of personal defenses that they have to work through before they can get to the child-led kind of considerations that you all mentioned when you were talking about. And so and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get comments from people who are like, no, not in my childcare. No one has ever done that. And bless you if you work in a place that you've never seen any of these practices that are so bothersome for me. I mean that sincerely. Like, if that's really your experience, that you've never seen concerning practices around holidays, then wonderful. Every center I've worked in, Halloween has been, including my own classrooms sometimes before I started to think about it and read about it. It's just been a huge distraction day. Like it's the children are suddenly even more objectified than usual because their costumes are cute or not cute, or this one forgot one, or this one whatever is so super fancy and mom made everything, so we're going to talk about that all day. Or the staff themselves dressing in costumes and talking to each other about their Halloween plans and their costumes, and just sort of forgetting about the rest of the children in the room with them. And that's really hard for me. Or children getting scared because of adults' costumes. So when I first started to suggest to people who worked in centers with me that we could go a different direction, that was one of my main arguments. Well, it just takes our focus off. Like we can put that stuff in pretend play.
I love that term objectification, because it's similar to the process versus product, right? It's like all we're doing is focusing on, it's like show and tell, which I don't want to go down that road right now, but
don't get me started. Yeah.
It's like, let me show off the cool thing I have and you don't.
Yeah. And honestly, I was a pretty poor kid. I was a pretty poor mom. I couldn't compete either time with the kinds of costumes others could have. So it also just really sort of blatantly brought out inequity in our classrooms when we had Halloween costumes and things like that. So when I first in the Purdue preschool, when I first started to talk about just sort of taking a year off from any holiday stuff, I first sent an email to the families and explained my rationale. And the families were overwhelmingly supportive when I laid those kinds of things out, except for that one little boy's mom. It was more the graduate students who had an issue with it, who hadn't ever really had any practice thinking differently about just the way it always is done. So I don't know, it stretched me definitely, both in terms of my own practice and in terms of my relationships with other adults in the program.
It's interesting for some teachers, the way I get them to at least think about it, if they aren't swayed by those arguments. I just think about a 3-year-old, if they start getting jazzed up and have a Halloween party and all, and they get home, and that's when the family can't wait to go out trick-or-treating for the first time or second time ever.
Yeah. And
the child is done for the day and it's just having a tantrum. Like, why not save those things? Like save the child's culture for the family. Like, you know what I mean? Like it 3-year-olds can't survive an entire day on this sugar high, but what if I don't give them candy corn? Or, no one says that to me exactly.
Yeah.
But it kind of comes across that way, right? Like, but I want to give them candy because I want to show them I, care about them or whatever. So what else could you give them?
What else can I get them to teach them food is love?
Yeah.
Time to play. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So anyways, I
mean, my own kids, we did Halloween with, homemade costumes from grandma usually. But what I would do on the years I could is go to the store the next day, buy all the clearance costumes and just throw them in a box for all year round.
Right. So smart.
That was a deeper kind of play for them and lasted longer than 2 hours of trick-or-treating or whatever it might be. We got to let Bethany and Liz come in.
Do we have to?
Yeah.
All right.
I was just thinking about my first year in ECE when I started and a new whole program manager director started. And she came in and said, we need to stop doing Halloween and Christmas. And I was very new to the field. I'd taken, a semester of ECE courses. I didn't know what was going on. I had no skin in the game. Essentially, I hadn't been doing it for 20 years and I had, no strong attachment. But I remember all of the teachers who had been there were so devastated by the fact that, we couldn't have a Christmas tree and we couldn't have, we couldn't mandate a dress up day for these families who, by the way, this was Head Start. These were not families who had money to throw around,
Yeah.
But it was a very exactly like you were saying, right? They felt it as a critique on their own culture rather than
Right.
something that should be for families and distinct
Yeah.
from school.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I think it's like trying to talk to them, to teachers about changing their guidance practices, because what they know is rewards and punishments, because that's how we were all, most of us, raised, and it hits personal. So you're saying my family did something wrong. You're saying my mom was wrong about something.
Right.
And that's hard to navigate. And I think it's the same way when we talk about holidays. You're saying my family tradition could harm another child. Like, that's really hard to process right away.
Or I turned out fine. I don't see the problem.
Yes, I turned out
Right.
fine. Yeah.
One thing I would always do sometime during the school year, I would ask families, what's something your family celebrates? And said, when I say celebrate, I mean something where you have people who don't normally come over, or you don't see often. Maybe you have special food, maybe you have special music. And it was amazing. We'd get this huge list, and it was things like the Super Bowl, the Twin Cities Marathon, Christmas. Oh, and I said, if it's some of the ones that a lot of people celebrate in this classroom, tell us what you do.
Yeah.
Because of course, Christmas, then it turns out some people put a pickle on the tree, some people,
Really?
whatever. And this, and getting people to think about that part. It was usually more of like, first the kids would draw themselves, try to mimic skin color, hair color, and all that.
Yeah.
This is what they can see when they look at you. Here's things about you they could only know by asking. And then we, kind of one of the things would get the family input on those holidays, because we all celebrate things, and that's great. But
we don't do them the same, even when we celebrate the same holiday. Not so much with Halloween, but when we get into the the Thanksgiving, Christmas time of year, that I would just ask families, what are some things your family does at this time of year that is special? And we can still incorporate those things without talking about how Christmas is the normal holiday, or getting into those risky areas. We could watch movies together. We could have hot cocoa. We could bake things together. We could invite family in for a meal with us or something. And so we're still honoring the traditions of our families without sending any messages about what's normal and what's not, or risking excluding somebody completely. 2 babies.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so excited.
Sorry.
And they're not coordinated fashion wise. So
Oh,
I'm sorry, no extra points.
that's okay.
But they're super cute. So you get extra points for that.
Oh, Mike has a
Holy cow.
baby.
it's actually a block of tofu holding a pumpkin, but
Oh my God.
the Japanese version of a doll, I guess.
And was your hat change a costume change, or just
Oh, yeah,
more
just
comfortable?
a little bit of both.
Not significant. Okay.
Is it like War on Jason Mraz? Is that like the new costume?
We're fighting that war this year.
I am very distracted by this baby's cheeks. I
Yeah,
just
I
want
know.
to pinch them.
They're wonderful
Yeah.
So
cheeks.
bad.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
my
hi.
God, that's the best costume ever.
Yeah, hi.
I have
Hi.
though, Richard. You never comment on mine.
Yeah.
They're not as
Which one's
cute.
your best feature?
These are good Polish cheeks.
They are.
All
But
right,
the
Mike.
glasses are so awesome. I never get all the way to your face. I stop at your glasses.
Wait in my face. Okay. So,
So- I want to jump in with a little
Yeah.
bit of what I would call like for some historical,
Yeah.
some history of this in our field, at least from my perspective.
yeah.
So when I started out in the mid 80s, I'm a white male. The center I worked at was affluent and white. And I never thought about anything. Halloween, yay, parade,
Yeah.
trick or treat, let's do it. And we did it all up and down as best as we could. And then in the 90s, the anti-bias curriculum came out. And I was right there at Pacific Oaks. And so we were all focused on the anti-bias curriculum.
Mhm.
And for anyone who's interested in that, it's now called Anti-Bias Education. And it's a really important book that NAEYC puts out.
New edition just came out a couple years ago.
That's right. Yeah, the new edition of the new title, Anti-Bias Education. And so there's a chapter in there that talks about holidays in early childhood education. I think for anyone watching, you can tell there's more questions than answers,
Mhm.
and there's no one right answer. It's a conundrum we all face if we're going to be intentional. NAEYC went on to publish an entire book just about holidays. So what I've noticed in the field from the time that we just did Halloween extravaganza was that once people started waking up to the possibility that others weren't feeling respected, we all kind of took on an all or nothing mentality.
Mhm.
We're not going to celebrate any holidays
Yeah.
at all. That's our policy. Or we're going to celebrate every possible holiday that's on any calendar in the world. And I don't know that we've yet gotten to a point where we found a healthy middle as a
No, I
field.
don't think so.
And then this whole trunk or treat thing came along. I don't even know what that's about. But I mean, what do you all
Stranger
think about
danger.
that?
That's a stranger danger thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is it? 'Cause I always thought it was just the same people, just in a closer quarters. Is the worry?
I think that's why it started. though.
Oh,
What,
okay.
trunk or treat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of going door to door to strangers, you just
Right.
invited people that you knew
Oh,
to
I
be
see.
part of this trunk or treat.
Well, I've been at centers where the parents all pull their cars into the parking lot, open
Mhm.
their trunks, and the children take their bags around from trunk to trunk to get
Yeah.
candy.
Yeah, most of them crying because they don't know why they got rushed away from snack and they just woke up
Yeah.
from nap.
Right.
Yeah. So, but there's a piece that NACI used to have on their website that I don't like or agree with a lot of NACI stuff.
Amen.
Sort of riskier for me to say that these days.
No, I'm with you.
But this was a good piece and I used it. It was about that sort of October to December push and what kinds of things we could consider. And I went to try and find it last night and it's not on the website anymore. But one of the things they talked about, I remember, was even things like when we're talking about Halloween, the color black tends to be bad. And so there's some potentially damaging identity messages in there too that I think are harder for some people to take
And
seriously.
old women are witches.
And old women are witches. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I stopped doing the big Halloween celebrations was the year that I had a family in which mom was very proudly a witch. That's how she identified. And we started the year by her saying, listen, you can't do Halloween. I find it very offensive. And I was like, this was right around the time the anti-bias curriculum came out. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm down. I certainly don't want to offend you. Now I got to
Yeah.
think about what I'm going to do because I had a whole different set of plans.
Yeah.
We have to be doing those things, even if that family isn't in our care. But that was certainly a concrete thing that brought it to my attention in a big way.
Or if they are in our care, but not as vocal and forthcoming.
Not,
right.
yeah, just not as comfortable coming out about it. So
Right.
can we talk about, oh wait, I just lost what I was going to ask you to talk about. Everybody talk while I remember.
Well, I will say that when I started in 1992 and my center was very influenced by the anti-bias curriculum book.
Yeah.
And even though we mostly had immigrant populations anyways, but I bet teachers still would have done Halloween had, the people not been talking about that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, here's what it was. Can we talk about why what we're describing is not cancel culture?
Say it again.
The kinds of holiday considerations we're talking about, someone's going to say, well, that's cancel culture. You can't take away, we're going overboard being politically correct. Everybody's too sensitive.
Nothing is being taken away. You're allowed to celebrate it as much as you'd like within your home, with your family, out in the streets, at the shopping mall, at every store that is decorated for Halloween. It's just
But and the question, oh, sorry, sorry, Liz. Oh, I was just gonna say, and then you could say, but what about the family who's Wiccan? We're celebrating Samhain. Like, I hope all you families don't mind. We're gonna celebrate Samhain this time, right? Like you couldn't celebrate every holiday that every single person in this world celebrates.
Mhm.
And so we are not stopping you from celebrating anything. And we are going to engage with your child with what they do.
Bethany.
Yeah.
I got a call on her. She's raising her hand.
Yeah, I say.
It's all right. I was raised in the Midwest and we don't interrupt people when they're talking.
I was raised in the Midwest. I don't know what you're talking about.
I was raised in the Christian church in the Midwest, and
Okay,
as a,
all right.
Well,
As
honey,
a-
you're never going to get a word in edgewise on this podcast. If you
I know.
keep going by that way.
That's why I raised my hand.
Oh, say
Um,
your brilliant point.
Well, I've been thinking that, we're not saying it's cancel culture, because we're asking our teachers and families to be mindful of who's in our community, right? Like last year I had a Catholic family, a Christian family, and a Jewish family. And so like the Jewish family was fine with me having my Christmas tree up because it's, my home and that's what I put up. But like we also learned a lot about Hanukkah, and the mom came and we had a special day where she made us treats for Hanukkah. And so it's, when we look at our families and we have relationships with our families and especially the children, and we're paying attention to, Halloween's been happening in play since September, like we're able to authentically engage in these holidays and celebrations where, just saying, it's President's Day, like let's all dress up as presidents. And
there you go.
That's what I'm actually dressed up for. Yeah.
That's why I was thinking of why it came to mind. But like that means nothing to kids.
Right.
If there's no
Right.
tie to their actual life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even to just jump off that just a little bit, Bethany, the idea that, but the kids will be so disappointed if we don't do this. They won't if we're not. I mean, honestly,
Right.
They're not sitting around counting down the days till their Halloween party at childcare. That's the parents around them and the teachers around them talking about it. So we can if that's our main concern, we can manage that disappointment pretty well.
Yeah, it's funny, when I worked at that parent cooperative, when I first started, and they were, using anti-bias curriculum as well, at what it was called at the time. What is that? 1999.
Roots and Wings, was that the book?
Roots and Wings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roots and Wings.
Yeah. And which I think that author just passed away this year in a car accident. But anyways, there's this one 5-year-old who's autistic, and his family's from Holland, and the family approached me. It's like, he made this like chart comparing Sinterklaas to Santa Claus that he wants to show the other kids. So it's like, that would be great. So he came in, his dad helped set up the chart, but the 5-year-old led the entire thing about what Sinterklaas dresses like, what Santa, all this stuff. But the other teachers, I found out later, were like, wait, Mike's doing holidays? Like they're peeking in the window, like sort of the opposite, right? Of like, doesn't he know about anti-bias curriculum? And well, I guess the director at the time said, she's like, I'm gonna have to like explain to him, we don't really celebrate holidays, is it? And then she kind of like, I think she might have actually opened the door and listened for a while, and then she's like, this is a different thing. But it gets to Richard's question of where is the balance too, right? Because that was an important thing. And for that child, that was the way he wanted to talk about it.
Right.
And also I've heard people, one of the other arguments is, if you only let the kids talk about what's meaningful, like it's sort of like Christmas is a day you get presents. And you can acknowledge different religions and the existence of different religions and beliefs that are in your classroom without anyone ever having to believe it, but it's something that's present in the families. And so there's there's more of a balance that we haven't struck, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still searching for the balance for my own practice. And now that I'm not doing direct care, who knows what I'll land on. But I think this should be holidays should be a whole other episode that we need to dig deeper. What, Richard? What? Raising your paw.
I really need to do my nails. That's really
Yeah, you need some Color Street nail strips.
well, being next to Mike, he's making my nails look better.
I know. I was like, I didn't even put new nails on.
Right. Well, the other thing I want to add around your question, Heather, of how do we make sure people don't think this is an example of cancel culture?
Mhm.
And by the way, I agree. We should do a bigger episode on holidays. And
Yeah.
we'll probably be repeating a lot of what we're saying now.
Yeah.
But,
Maybe for a new audience.
right. So at the beginning of this episode, when I asked people, what are you doing now if you're working with children? And Bethany said, well, we do whatever that is meaningful to the children at the time. And if that happens to be Halloween, then I follow that child's lead. I'm paraphrasing Bethany, but I think that hopefully
Sounded just like her.
accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. I sound like Bethany, but less tired.
Yeah.
So if you have that open house or that orientation night or whatever at the beginning of the year, you've heard me say this before, I had the longest ones ever because I believe so strongly in being proactive
Mhm.
that if I can talk about all those things in the beginning, way before we get to October 31st or December 25th, then I've laid the foundation. So like at my last role as a center director, it was in an emergent curriculum program. And so you couldn't necessarily plan ahead for a holiday if it wasn't, you had to follow whatever was emerging from the children's interests, which is what I hear Bethany say. And so if you explain to the parents at the beginning that, what we do here, what Bethany does is I would call responsive care. And so let me explain to you what it means to be responsive. It means we listen, we build relationships with your child. And if we find something that's meaningful to them, or by extension to your family, by all means, we'll do it. So when I was a preschool teacher, that's what I would say to those families. We as a classroom don't celebrate in my more recent role as a preschool teacher, but we're happy to talk about it and play about it. And if it's important to you, bring it in. And we're even happy to have a celebration if you want to bring that into our room. And so I had a parent who brought in the menorah and she lit it for the kids. That parent who was self-described as a witch in January, or maybe, no, it was toward Easter because their holiday was Ostara, which is a version of that word Easter, what became Easter. She came in and shared that with the kids, and another family who had been from Norway. But whether it was a holiday or that Aunt Susie plays the guitar or whatever it is, if that's something that's meaningful to your child because it's part of their world, bring it in.
Mhm.
And if you want that to be a celebration, host it, we'll do it. But it's not me and our program celebrating it. It's you bringing it in because you want to share your family and your culture and your world with the rest of our community. And then it sort of puts the onus or the opportunity on them, not on our program. But the other thing I would say that comes to mind is that I think another thing we struggle with a lot of programs is what it means to be a professional in this world. And so in my last role as a director, I came in, the program was already there. Their mission, their vision, their values were already there. They do not celebrate holidays. It's in the handbook. It's in the employee's handbook. It's in the parent handbook or family handbook that they sign off on. And so like you all said earlier, some of those teachers were very upset. I don't understand. Can't we do Halloween? Richard, you're the director. Just let us do Halloween.
Yeah.
I would like to. And I know it feels like we're a family every day, but the truth is I report to a board and the board puts out a handbook and they have to vote on any changes. We can't do holidays unless, if you would like to bring that to the board, we can go through that process and look toward do it for next year. But we're a profession here. And so we have a handbook and we have to follow it. Whether I like it or not, the handbook says no holidays. So that's what we have to do.
Whether we like it or not, Mike won't let us do holidays.
That's right. It's all my fault. I do have to say, I love, Richard, how much you're talking with your hands in that costume. Every time you would make a comment and your paws would appear. I know he's making a serious point, but I can't take him seriously.
We encourage the nerd audience to just listen to this podcast.
No.
Just listen to the audio.
Okay. Maybe we
But
should.
then you don't
have
get the
Richard turn his
babies.
camera. That's right. They need those baby
Mhm.
views.
Yeah. Or just
So-
put masking tape over me and Mike and Heather and just
Post it.
focus on the babies.
Yeah, I was assuming we're just pinning, the babies, like those are the only two screens we see.
Look at him look at you, Bethany. Like, what was that about? So I have one last question, because we've been going a while, it seems like now.
Yeah.
What about the teacher who says, well, you're always talking about pretend play and how important it is. So isn't Halloween just pretend play? We should be able to do it because it's pretend.
I love that you said I bought those costumes and put them in the dramatic play area or whatever we call that, right?
Yeah.
Yep, pretend play is important. And here's the place where it happens over there. Bring in those Halloween costumes and they can pretend it's Halloween.
Yeah, and ask them what part of the play is coming from the children then if the teacher is deciding that today is the day we get to pretend.
Today
play.
we pretend.
Yeah. Who is it for, is what Lisa would say. At this point.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And I just want to emphasize that I understand how hard it is when it's something that's been a big part of your practice for so long.
Absolutely.
Or if you're just one of those people who really gets into Halloween yourself, so you want to bring that to your classroom.
Right.
But there's lots of things to consider. And I think it comes down to just what you were talking about, Richard, professionalism and what that means. And how
And the thing
we-
is, I love celebrating Halloween,
yeah.
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 But, it turns out that adults actually, there's lots of events that adults can go to
for their own-
without, and I wouldn't bring that into the classroom, frankly.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right.
okay, TMI, sorry.
Yeah.
We're
Oh my
Send
gosh.
me pictures.
All right. You both are grounded. Liz and Bethany,
But yeah.
anything else you want to add? Okay. Were you going to say something real, Richard?
I'm always going to say something important and real and brilliant. So get your pen ready and write it down, nerd. Or even a Sharpie marker. It's that good. And now, of course, I've completely forgotten what it was. Oh man,
That was
I
my
know.
ring hitting the
Heather's
table.
rubbing off on me. What had you just said a minute ago, Heather?
Anything else you want to say? Were you going to say something
Oh,
real?
before
That's
that,
what I
what,
said
what
to you.
was your last question you raised?
Being professional,
Oh,
pretend
thank you.
play,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah, so I think, and we've talked about this before, one of the challenges that are unique to our field is that to be a professional means bringing your humanity to work. And so unless people set down the road of being reflective and intentional, they just, this is how I was raised and this is what brought me joy in my family. You want me to be a person here, so I'm going to do that. And so, we have to find that middle place for the paw or the pendulum to swing to, where we can understand that we need to be people. And there are some parts of our culture and our history and our traditions that we need to bring with us. And there are others that we need to let go of because it may not be respectful of everybody in our community. And that takes some intentional thought to figure out which is which for you this year in this program.
And how does family childcare or home care fit into that too? Because I think in that case, you are bringing kids into there's a bit more of your own world in there too.
Well, that's why Bethany's answer was the most brilliant that I heard today. If you let them know at the beginning, we're just here. You're welcome, Bethany. She's brilliant even when she's half awake.
I assume we're editing the rest out and just keeping Bethany because I think you're right.
If you are in the kind of program that says before those families enroll, this is a responsive program. What happens here is going to be based on what's meaningful to your child. Then I feel like anything can happen, which is all holidays or no holidays or anywhere in between, and you have a leg to stand on. I'm blurry all of a sudden, but anyway, it's meaningful to the children today. So that's why we're doing it.
And some of those same things can be used then if it's a teacher who this is what they really love about themselves and their own lives, they could bring in something to share without making it a whole day focus or forcing other people to do the same things. I mean, it could be a homemade book about what they do on Halloween or something like that they add.
Well, in the same way that a parent in my class brought in a menorah and lit it for the kids. If you loved Christmas morning, it's not the whole class celebrating it, but at circle time, you want to tell them about what Christmas morning was like for you as a kid. And you want to do some because it's a great fine motor activity and energy activity, is to have all those wrap presents and the kids just unwrap and unwrap. Do that and share about your Christmas traditions in your family. But that's a different thing than we're all celebrating.
Right.
And
I
that's
used to wrap up all the stuff on the shelves during nap time. So when they woke up, not at Christmas time, just in general, every now and again, I would do that.
That's
And
awesome.
I would just ask the parents to, save the wrapping paper, like bring it in, like it's perfect collage material. There's always these shiny
Love it.
things.
Yeah. So I have one last question, if you feel like we're toward the end.
Yeah, I feel like we are.
All right. I think this may be the first podcast I've been on since Dan Hodgins passed.
Yeah.
And I've just been thinking about him through this whole podcast as I'm staring at the screen and his rectangle is not
Yesterday
there.
I was like, God, I wish Dan could join this
Right?
conversation.
So my question to you all is, if Dan could join us, what costume would he be wearing? We've seen him in his Star Wars pajamas.
We have seen him in his Star Wars pajamas.
So we know he likes Star Wars. Maybe
I don't
he'd
know.
be
There
Darth
might be
Vader.
something beachy. He might do something.
Yeah, I was
beachy.
totally thinking a surfer or something.
Beachy.
Surfer.
Yeah. Or Bodie.
Or Bodie, yeah. Captain's hat.
Yeah.
Love it.
I bet he'd be a mermaid.
Yes.
Well, if he was captain, I would definitely dress up as Tennille, as long as you'll have to look up that one too.
Yeah. So, just this is, some of you know this already. In fact, most of you probably saw this already on my Facebook, but just started a new 8-week course. And in the syllabus, I hit a little Easter egg and I was like, if you send me a picture of Foo Fighters, you'll get 5 points extra credit. And 2 people did it. And one was like, I hope this is right. Are they a rock band or something? So I know if they don't know Foo Fighters, they're not going to know Olivia Newton-John and Captain and Tennille.
But just to stay with the theme of this podcast, you can't call it an Easter egg. That's problematic.
Shit. Yeah.
A decorated egg.
A decorated
Because
egg.
Jesus.
A secret instruction. Read the syllabus. That's what we'll just call it.
Right.
I guess that's who I am now.
Richard, stop canceling Heather.
What?
I can't help it. It's a lifestyle choice.
Okay, well, thank you all for doing this. It was super fun, and I sort of needed to just get back into the podcast habit again. So we'll come back with a holiday episode one of these days.
All right.
And
I'll
And I'm
dress
going to
up
risk
that day.
saying on behalf of the 6 of us, I don't know, is your baby down there, Liz?
He's with his
She has a
dad,
cat
trying
now.
to
The
nap.
5 of us. We love you, Heather, and we would do anything for you. So if you want to do more episodes, you just say the word and we'll be there.
okay.
Okay? We love you.
Radio also loves you, just for the
Aw.
record. I know he's not
Great.
presently here.
Thank
Richard
you.
stops counting him, but
He loves napping more. That's all
I
right.
told somebody this week that I need to get recording again, but I can only do it with people who can keep the conversation going if I have to run to the bathroom.
Oh God, yeah. We
Or are okay if I have to cancel at the last minute.
My tofu
We need to
cube
ask
loves
for a
you too.
paycheck.
Oh, hi, Tofu. Okay, let's be done now.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everybody. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Hi.